Live from Lane Gymnasium, Lane Tech Girls Volleyball is on the air. Lane Tech looking to bounce back after a tough 3-set loss to the Peyton Grizzlies just 24 hours ago. But in their way, the Fenwick Friars, who have won 5 straight against the champions in recent years. Thank you so much for joining us. My name's Alex Burstein above the midcourt line here at Lane Gymnasium for what should be a fun one on this Wednesday evening for Lane Tech. Once again, 3 matches in 3 days for Lane Tech for the second straight week. This is going to be the middle of the 3 as Lane Tech has their second to last non-conference game of the year, this time against Fenwick. Fenwick has had all of the success in the world recently against Lane Tech, winning 5 straight, as we mentioned in our opening. They've only lost 1 set to Lane Tech in that time, but this year the tables have kind of turned. Lane Tech comes into this one as the favorite. They're 14-12 on the year, above 500. Fenwick has had an uncharacteristic year under head coach Kathleen O'Loughlin. They've had a lot of success. They're on track for their first losing season in quite some time. They entered tonight's matchup with a 7-13 record. So Lane Tech has had a decent season by their standards. Fenwick has struggled a little bit, and we'll see if that shows in tonight's matchup as we take you down to the court with just about 3 minutes to go until first serve here at Lane Tech. Fenwick, however, despite their struggles, they have had a somewhat strong last couple of weeks, highlighted by a victory on Monday against Peyton. That's the same Peyton team that Lane Tech lost to last night. So that's one of the main head-to-head comparisons we have between these two teams. Lane Tech lost to the Grizzlies while the Friars beat them just this week, so that's going to be something to look at for tonight's game. We should mention, though, Lane Tech beat Peyton earlier in the season in 2 sets, so we'll see if last night was kind of an outlier for Lane Tech or if it's going to be another rough week for the champions. It's been a very up-and-down season for Lane Tech this year. They started off the season with some struggles, then they got into conference play, were rolling. They reached the gauntlet of their schedule with Jones and Whitney Young, who are the top 2 teams in the public league, a back-to-back conference matchups with those 2. They lost both of them. Then they kind of got back into the rhythm of things last week. They won 7 or 8 out of 9, with the only loss being to Niles West. But then on yesterday, they had that surprise loss to Peyton. So Lane Tech trying to bounce back, and the regular season very close to ending. Tomorrow night, senior night for Lane Tech. Then they have 2 games next week. But then it's city and state playoffs for Lane Tech. So this is the time of the year you want to really start to peak if you are Lane and see how much of a playoff run this champions team can make. Same thing can be said for the Friars, who have now won 2 in a row with wins against Trinity and Peyton. Before that, they had lost a bunch of straight games. They had lost, trying to count quickly here, 7 or 8 straight before entering, I think, this last weekend, and then they beat Trinity and Peyton. So they're on a bit of a winning streak, and they'll see if they can keep that going tonight here against Lane Tech. We have just about a minute to go until starting lineups here at Lane, so we'll take you through the starting lineups for Lane Tech. We did not get them for Fenwick, but we did get them for Lane, so we'll take you through those. In the front row, going from left to right, it'll be number 25, Amina Ahmad on the left-hand side. Number 16, Kinsey Copenhaver, who's been very strong in the front as of recent for Lane Tech. In the middle, and to her right, it'll be Claire Anderson on the right side. In the back row, going from left to right for Lane Tech, it'll be Olivia Crane, the team's leader in kills, in the back row. In the middle next to her will be Brooke Anderson, the team leader in blocks, and to her right will be Catherine Hong, the team leader in aces, who had a surprise night last night where she did not have an ace. You cannot say that about a lot of games for Hong this year, so we'll see if she can have a little bit of a comeback during tonight's matchup. So those will be your starting 6 for Lane Tech. I did not see if they are going to be serving or receiving to start things off here tonight. So one of those players might be subbed out for the libero, Heidi Stauber, who will also be one of these starters for Lane Tech tonight. So we will see that in just a second. Both the teams headed to their benches. It's a black versus white jersey matchup here tonight from Lane Gymnasium. Fenwick in their all-black uniforms with white lining. Lane Tech in their all-white uniforms with green and gold lining. And we're going to see both the teams line up on the court here quickly. And the PA announcer here is going to go through the starting lineup for both these squads. So we will get to see the Fenwick starters for the first time in a couple of seconds, as both teams just huddling around their benches Last night in that 3-set loss to Peyton, Lane Tech won the first set 25-22, but then they lost the second and the third set, both by a score of 25-23. And talking with head coach Norman Kwong heading into this game, he said it was just errors that came back to bite Lane Tech in it. They had some hitting errors. They did not adjust while the Grizzlies did in that matchup, and that ended up making them fall to Peyton. And that it's a kind of a big one because Lane Tech was in a pretty good spot to finish third instead of fourth in the conference, but with that loss, they'll probably go to fourth. We're going to turn to the national anthem, and we'll be back in just a second. Back here from Lane Gymnasium, just a couple of minutes here before first serve between Lane Tech and Fenwick. Lane Tech looking to get their first win against Fenwick in currently recorded online history. The Max Preps only goes back to 2002-2008 season, and Lane Tech has not had a win against Fenwick in that time. So we'll see if Lane Tech can bounce back and get a win here tonight against the Friars. The last time Lane Tech was able to win a set against this Fenwick team was back on September 2nd, 2016. They won the first set 25-16, and that match was at home. So Lane Tech has had the most success they have had against this Fenwick team at home. We'll see what they can do with a home court advantage here tonight. A super big crowd on hand for some Wednesday night action. Should be a much bigger crowd for tomorrow night's game against the Northside Mustangs. That's going to be the senior night ceremony, but a lot of sports going on for Lane Tech on this evening, so the fans a little spread out for tonight's action as they're meeting the Lane Tech starters on the court right now. For those of you joining us a little late, we'll get you through those once again. In the front row going from left to right, it'll be number 25, Amina Ahmad, Brooke Anderson in the middle, and Claire Anderson on the right side. In the back row going from left to right, it'll be number 22, Olivia Crane on the left side. Number 12, not Brooke Anderson in the front row. That's going to be Kinsey Copenhaver in the front row. Brooke Anderson in the back row. And then on the right side, there'll be Catherine Hong and Heidi Stauber back for libero. We will see if she is starting or not based on who is going to serve to start off tonight's contest. Both the teams just finishing getting wrapped up and introduced on the courts. Fenwick will be coached tonight by Kathleen Laughlin, whose daughter Shannon O'Laughlin is on the team, so a little bit of a family connection there. She's been the coach here at Ignatius for a couple of years. I know I wrote this down somewhere, trying to find it on my notes. I believe 2012, 2013 was her first year, and as you mentioned, she's had a lot of success. The only losing season that they have had in the last 8 or so years was back in 2014, 2015. They've had a winning record every season since. However, they're going to have to go on a little bit of a run here. They get back to 500, currently 6 games below that mark, as both teams are going to come on the court, and we'll be ready for first serve here from Lane Gymnasium. Should be a fun one here tonight. It was a really fun one in the JV game between these two squads a couple of minutes ago. Ended up being a 2-set win for Fenwick over Lane Tech. They won the first set in pretty convincing fashion, 25-18. But then Lane Tech led for most of the second set, and then they just had some late errors that hurt them. They ended up losing that second set 25-22 to give the Friars the sweep and the win on the day. All 3 levels in action here on this Wednesday afternoon, JV, freshman, and varsity. And it looks like it is going to be not Lane Tech serve as, now maybe We will see. They are going to check in Heidi Stauber, and it will be Lane Tech's serve. So just a last-minute substitution there for Lane Tech. She comes in for Brooke Anderson, and we'll see Catherine Hong serve to start things off here at Lane Tech. Lane Gymnasium on this Wednesday night. First serve is received by the libero for the Friars, and a soft touch gets down by Erin East there. Uses the net to her advantage, and Lane Tech unable to defend their serve on the first point of the night. Oh, looks like they gave that point to Lane. Apologies, folks. They must have called a net violation there on Fenwick, and now Lane Tech will get the first point. So 1-0, the early lead for the champions. Early leads are going to be important here for Lane Tech here tonight, as Hong with the back set. Copenhagen going cross courts, and very rare here we've seen at Lane Gymnasium defending teams leaving the back row open. It seems like the middle row has been open during some games, but there just the entire back left part of the defensive end for the Friars was open. Lane Tech exploits it, and a 2-0 lead here early for the champion, and there's we see, as we've seen all year long, aces from Catherine Hong, one of the top servers in the public league, and she gets ace number 39 on the year, so she's very close to that 40 mark. We'll see if she can get it here. Received in the back row, cross court off the hands of Hong, and Fenwick will get their service for the first time here tonight. Quick note, we did not get a Fenwick roster. We had to go off Max Preps, and their libero, it looks like, might not be on the roster, so we'll try to get that name as soon as possible to you, as this one goes off the tape on the first serve of the day from the Friars. Ahmad with her first kill attempt, can't get it down. Played awkwardly there off the hands of O'Loughlin, but she's able to recover. And here comes the champions again. Anderson with her first hits. Back and forth play at the net here from both teams. Ahmad from the other side. Lane Tech trying very heavily with these cross-court serves. However, they can't find it this time. And Fenwick will get their second point of the night. 3-2, the early lead for Lane Tech. We'll see if Fenwick can tie it for the first time tonight. The reception from Crame. She's third on the team in receptions this year. Now one of the first kill attempts for the Friars comes from number 24, Maeve Welsh. Ahmad once again, and she's tried that same shot two times here from the near pin, trying to go narrow with a narrow cross shot. Doesn't land either of them, and Fenwick will knot it up 3-3. 3 straight points for the Friars. They'll do it again. This one awkwardly played off the reception from Stauber. Anderson goes behind her back, and a nice bump there to keep it alive. Getting him the kill, though, will be number 4, Erin East. Her second touch of the night goes for a point. And Fenwick takes their first lead of the night here at Lane Gymnasium, a 4-3 lead. So we talked about that early lead and the importance of it for Lane Tech. They led super early, but now Fenwick establishes the lead 7 points in. And we'll see a service here off the hands of Felicia Saunders. And Lane Tech will get their service back. Lane Tech has played the best at home this year when they are serving. As we'll see Claire Anderson with her first serve of the night. Stauber with another dig. She's leading the team in digs by such a wide margin at this point. Stauber's just been so impressive this year, but she can't dig this one out. First kill of the night from Maeve Welsh. And Fenwick takes back the lead 5-4 here early in set number 1. After the kill, we'll see Welsh head back to serve. She's a 2-time all-conference honoree, now a senior, trying to make it 3 times in a row. Crane from the far side. Tried for the kill there, but this one will go too far off the hands of East, and Lane Tech ties it up. So this is kind of exactly what we saw in the JV match between these two teams, Lane Tech and Fenwick. Just very back and forth play, and we'll see which team can make a little bit of a run and try to pull away with this first set. Out of rotation here on Fenwick, so Lane Tech will get the 3 points. Back now to serve for Lane is Kinsey Copenhaver. One of the top blockers for Lane Tech, but she's also been pretty decent serving this year for Lane Tech. Number 3 in the serve rotation for the champions tonight. It's been interesting. After there were some changes through the first couple of games, Lane Tech's roster has primarily stayed the same and lineup for these last couple of games, as Crane from the far side, and for the 3rd time tonight, a kill attempt from Lane Tech just goes a pretty wide margin out. They've just been pushing them either way too far to the outside or way too far back. And that's what's kept Fenwick in this one early. 6-6, set number 1 from Lane Gymnasium. East serves this one into the net, and Lane Tech will get their service back. So Fenwick has done a good job of breaking Lane's service, as we'll see Campbell Wild and Addison Stoner check into the game for the first time this afternoon for Lane Tech. The problem is when Fenwick has broken Lane's service, they've not been able to do much serving on their own, as a massive kill attempt there dug out by Stauber. Nice play there. Just a simple bump there from Crane. Almost caught Fenwick off guard, and this one, a strong hit, goes too far off the hands of O'Loughlin. And Lane Tech will go up by 2 for the first time in a while. We haven't seen, I don't think, either team lead by 2 since the 3-1 mark 15 points or so ago. Back set, punched over, but Stauber has really been everywhere on the court here to save it. And Wild plays this one off the net. They'll give the point to Lane Tech. Looks like they called a net violation there. Lane's head coach Norman Kwong was talking about just the little errors that have hurt Lane Tech these last couple of games, especially last night, like what we just saw there. We'll see if they can limit those tonight in this non-conference matchup, as a big shot there off the hands of number 21 for Fenwick. And the Friars tie this one up 8-8. Another number we don't have on our roster, but a big shot there from Fenwick. So we'll see the libero back now to serve for the Friars. But this one goes straight into the net, and Fenwick continues with their service errors here early on. So we'll see Claire Anderson check back into the game alongside Sarah Thompson. Crane and Maddie Gavalding come out of the game. Thompson's been one of the better servers this year for Lane Tech. Back in the order a little bit here tonight. In the 5 spot as a cross-court kill saved there by Stoner. 9-8, the early lead for Lane Tech. Fenwick's been really trying to palm it across the net. It's worked a couple times, but they've not been able to find a complete point off of it yet. And another one, this one's too hard off the hands of O'Loughlin. They've been really trying to kind of slowly move O'Loughlin back from the back row. You can see if you watch her, she's going to be set in the back row right-hand side. And they just kind of slowly move her up as the ball goes back and forth, and then they try to finish with a kill from her. However, it's yet to work out too well for the Friars, as Lane Tech now with a 2-point lead, but that will be quickly put in half. A nice kill there for Fenwick, who gets it back within 1. Fenwick's able to find their serve. This will be a big advantage for the Friars in this one, as this one dropped, saved by Thompson, and Brooke Anderson gets her first kill of the night. She had 9 of those last night against Payton. She's really awoken offensively these last couple of weeks, and it's been a big advantage for Lane Tech as the champions go back up by 2. First couple of weeks of the season, Anderson was really big on the block. She leads the team in blocks, but she's, these last couple of weeks, just been having a bunch of kills as well in the front row, and it's been very helpful for Lane Tech to play those balls to the middle. Stoner with the set to Stauber, and then Wild goes a little too far on the outside. So Lane Tech still struggling to finalize those kills. They found some other ways to score early, but Lane Tech wants to pull away in that one. They'll probably have to adjust that. We'll see another serve here from O'Loughlin, but a little too far right. And another service error here from Fenwick. Haven't been counting those thus far, but I guess we'll start counting from now. I think there was at least 2 before there, so at least 3 service errors thus far on the first serve from Fenwick, as Hong on her second serve rotation of the game is broken up quickly again. Maeve Welsh from the outside. She can do just about everything on the court, and she breaks up Lane Tech's service very quickly there. Felicia Saunders now the outside senior hitter. Back to serve for Fenwick. You see Ahmad from the far side, tries to kill. Struggled with it from the right pin, and now she's struggling with it a little bit from the right pin as well, as Fenwick has climbed back to tie this one up 12-12. So definitely not the first set that Lane Tech would have loved most, as now an ace off the arms of Heidi Stauber, and Saunders has been one of the more impressive servers, if not the most impressive server we have seen so far today from Fenwick. We'll see if she can score a third straight point for her team. Again from the right side. This one goes a little too far. Both Thompson and Stauber in the back row there were looking at each other, trying to see if they were going to play that. They end up deciding to let it go, and it pays off, as we'll see Claire Anderson back to serve for a second time. 13-13, tight first set here from Lane Gymnasium. And Erin East once again, she's just been bringing the power with her kills, but Stauber able to break it up. Another time, East. And Stauber again from her knees keeps it the point going for Lane Tech. Crane took two deflections there. First off the hands of Annie Larson, who gets one of her first touches tonight. Then off the arms of East, but just a little too fast off the arms of Crane, the team leader in kills, and that's going to force a timeout here early on. 14-13 the lead for Lane Tech. So if you're a Champions fan, that's exactly what you want to see here early on. Lane has struggled early with getting the points via the kill. They've found some other ways. They've seen some errors from Fenwick, which have allowed them to stay in the lead early on, but they're able to unlock that other way of scoring here, which has been the big way Lane Tech has scored points all year long. That's going to be big for the Champions as they look to win their first game against Fenwick in the last at least 10 or 15 years or so. Both the teams still huddling, using as much of this 1 minute timeout as possible. As we mentioned, Kathleen O'Loughlin, I should say, the head coach for Fenwick. Longtime head coach with this program since 2012, 2013. Only 3 losing seasons since then in her first 3 years, but she's had a winning record every year since. Norman Kwong has a shorter career, but a successful career here at Lane Tech. As unsuccessful kill there from Welsh. Now Ahmad brings a nice shot from the outside, but Fenwick able to play it. Once again, back set from Hong. Ahmad for the second time. And this one takes an awkward bounce off the hands of East and will find the ground. One of the first points scored here by Ahmad tonight, and Lane Tech back in front by 2. They've been able to lead by 2 a bunch of times here tonight. We'll see if they're finally able to break that margin and lead by 3, and they will off a net violation here from Fenwick. So, not exactly something Lane Tech did to get the point, but either way, they will go up by 3 here, and we'll see if they can keep that momentum going. Anderson with a couple of nice serves here from the back row for Lane Tech. Dug out by the libero, soft tip, and just too easy of a point there for Maeve Welsh, the senior setter. It's been very impressive here early for Fenwick, and the Friars back within 2, 16-14. Will also go back to serve after that shot. Plays it very shallow, but Stauber there to receive. Ahmad right into the net. And Fenwick within 1. It's been a game of runs for both these teams early on. It's like Fenwick is amidst another one here, especially if they can get a point. Crane had to tip it over. The set was a little too far to the front. However, Fenwick had some troubles controlling it. It wasn't a super difficult shot or anything for Lane Tech, as we see Brooke Anderson check into the game for Heidi Stauber. But either way, Lane's able to get the point and go back up by 2. Kinsey Copenhaver back to serve for the second time here tonight. On the far side, East, and a nice dig there by Copenhaver. Crane goes with the back set to keep it alive. 17-15, the early lead for Lane Tech, set number 1. Lane has not found a good shot yet this point. This one off the arms of a couple of Lane Tech players. It didn't even look like that was going to get over the net after the strong hit from Larson. However, it did. Went off the arms of Hong, then off of Brooke Anderson. And it will end up with Fenwick making it a 1-point game. East again serving here for the Friars. Crane goes with the two-hand, trying to just push it over the net there. Unable to score the point. Crane again goes a little more powerful this time, but still playable for Fenwick. Crane again, her third try, and they're going to give this point to Fenwick. Looks like they're going to call a net violation there. And either way, Fenwick will have the serve. Will keep the serve and tie this one up 17-17. Lane had the lead for the last 20 points or so. And now they lose it here late in set number 1. Crane with a diving save here. Stauber with the high set. And DeMai just punches it over. It's like Lane's losing a little bit of confidence in their power. Fenwick has not, though. Shannon O'Loughlin gets the kill, and just a very athletic play there from O'Loughlin. Very athletic family. Obviously, her mom's the head coach. Her brother, Mike, playing football at West Virginia, a Division I player. She had another brother who was an athlete at Fenwick. Fenwick has been graced with the presence of O'Loughlin athletes for a long time, and big play there from the senior outside hitter to give Fenwick their first lead in a while. Timeout called there by Lane Tech with just about 30 seconds to go. Both the teams huddling up near their respective benches. So Lane Tech had a couple of chances there in the last 10 points or so to kind of pull away. They had some nice serves going, especially from Claire Anderson, but they gave up once they had the 3-point lead, and then Fenwick able to crawl back into the lead now here, 18-17. This is kind of like what we saw in set number 2 of the JV match here. It was Lane Tech in control for almost the whole start, and then Fenwick came back crawling. This has been a problem for the varsity team all year long for Lane Tech, just trying to close out matches. As Hong and Amon, a little bit of a miscommunication there, went straight to the bench. Thompson ended up having to get a touch on it while sitting down, and Fenwick will go up 2 for the first time this afternoon, 19-17. 6 points away from a first set win. East is on a long serving run right now. Crane goes with the soft touch off the hands of a couple of blockers for Fenwick. And Lane will get back within 1. We'll see Addison Stoner and Campbell Wild check into the game. It's been interesting to see. We've seen some powerful shots from both these squads, but one thing we have not really seen are successful blocks from either of these teams early on. Stoner sends it to the libero in the middle of the court. Once again, a missed block here from Lane Tech off the hands of Wild and Anderson. And Fenwick will get their serve back quickly. They become the first team to the 20-point mark. And now they're 5 away from a first set win. Stauber with the reception went a little further than she was expecting there and ended up being a play at the net. Block in the front row here from Wild and Anderson. Anderson trying to go with the far touch there, but can't find the ground. Long point here. Crane from the far side. And misplayed off the hands there of Shannon O'Loughlin. A rare air there for the senior. And Lane Tech now gets back within 1. We've been saying all afternoon long, Fenwick gets within 1. Now Lane Tech having to play from behind for the first time. We'll see how that changes up their strategy. Thompson plays it straight up the middle. Don't see that a lot, and just too easy there from Felicia Saunders. It was a one-on-one at the net. She played it to the outside arm there of Wild, and it just deflected and went straight out of bounds for the point for Fenwick. 21-19. Wild went with the awkward shot there. You could hear that in the somewhat quiet gymnasium here off at Lane Tech. It just went weird off the hands there of Wild, and Fenwick up by 3 now, their largest lead of the afternoon. And they're just 3 points away from taking this first set. Stoner with the front set, and I think they're going to call a raise there. Oh no, they're going to call a double. Not sure what the where that happened, where they called it, but either way, it'll be points for the Friars and just 2 points away from a first set victory for them. As Lane Tech calls timeout here late in the first set, 23-19, the lead for Fenwick. So once again, it's just the little errors that are hurting Lane Tech right there. We see a double when they're trying to make a comeback that obviously is not ideal for this Lane team. But other than that, they've just had trouble in this match finishing off their shots. Wasn't at the game last night against Payton, but from what I've heard, it sounds like it was a similar story last night for Lane Tech against Payton, and that's really something Lane Tech's going to need to try to clean up before the playoffs start. A couple of losses Lane Tech has had is definitely going to hurt their seeding in both the Public League playoffs, which are set to start in about a week and a half from now, and then the state playoffs, which start later in October for Lane Tech. 23-19. Fenwick with the lead here, set number 1, reception for Thompson. They did not go to the libero Stauber for one of the first times, and lucky hit there from Anderson, deflected off the arm of Saunders. And Lane Tech now within 3. And we'll see what they can do with Heidi Stauber back to serve. She's had a couple of really good serving games here at the home court for Lane Tech, and this one played too far off the hands of O'Laughlin. So a couple of errors here from the Friars, allowing Lane Tech to stay in this first set, 23-21. Stauber again from the back row, plays this one to the far right. Lane Tech has played their shots all season long to the liberos primarily for other teams, not doing that as much here tonight. As Anderson goes with the soft touch, Fenwick able to play it, and excellent dig there from Stoner, but goes awkwardly off her arms, and will give match point here to Fenwick, set point here to Fenwick in set number 1. It'll be O'Laughlin back to try to win this set for the Friars. Outside, wild, and block in the front row from Felicia Saunders. Right place, right time there for Fenwick as they take the first set 25-21. Lane Tech led that one for the majority of the set, but they never looked truly comfortable here. You could see Fenwick gaining their momentum. They take the lead around the 20-point mark, and they end up taking the win here in set number 1. So a good first set here for Fenwick. Lane Tech with a couple of errors they'll try to clean up in set number 2. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a second. You're watching Lane Tech Girls Volleyball here on the Lane Tech Athletics YouTube channel. Four-point first set win for Fenwick. They get the win over the champions 25-21, and Lane Tech will now have to play from behind as they try to break up a 5-game match winning streak that Fenwick has over them. Lane Tech has not played great in 3-set games this year. They lost last night to Payton in one 3-set game. They lost to Whitney Young in 3 sets. They lost to Jones in 3 sets. And looking through their schedule now, they lost to DePaul in 3 sets. I'm not sure they've won one. They've won one 3-set match all year long, and that was in their 4th game of the year when they took on Niles North. They lost that first set, or they won the first set. They lost the second set, 25-23. But Lane Tech has had some trouble in 3-set matches here this year. So the signs are definitely not pointing great here for Lane Tech, even if they are able to force a set number 3. But we will see what they can do here against a Fenwick team that really figured things out there. We saw the final point scored by Felicia Saunders. She was very impressive. We saw a very long service from number 4, Erin East, the senior outside hitter. Some strong play from Shannon O'Laughlin as well. Those have been the main 3 names so far for the Friars. Also some plays from Annie Larson and Maeve Walsh. This is a team that has some juniors, even some freshmen, but all those names we just mentioned are seniors. It's been just some senior leadership here leading the way for Fenwick as they look to get their 8th win on the year. The season gets cut off kind of early for Lane Tech because they have city playoffs, but a lot of other conferences don't have playoffs, or at least to the extent that the public league does. So Fenwick still has a decent number of games to be played before the state playoffs. And if they win tonight, they'll have a path to getting back to 500 and keeping the streak alive of winning seasons under head coach Kathleen O'Laughlin. Last year, pretty strong year for Fenwick. They finished 21-13. In conference, they went 3-3, but conference has been weird as of recent, or at least according to Max Preps, for the girls Catholic teams here in the Chicagoland area. As both teams on the court here ready to start set number 2. The way it's listed on Max Preps, at least, there's about 15 teams in the conference, and there doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason to why they play each other or when they play each other. All the teams have played different number of conference matches. You have Montini Catholic, who's played 1. Fenwick has only played 1 conference games. You have teams like Rosary, who have played up to 4. So it's been some strange matches there for the GCAC conference. And Fenwick will have a couple of conference games in the coming days. But as we mentioned right now, just an 0-1 record. A little bit of delay here to start the second set. Not sure why. The 3 minutes were up, and both the teams on the court. Looks like one of the referees just talking over with the scorekeepers. 5 on the court for Lane Tech to start off. The 6 on the court for Lane Tech to start off this set number 2. Will be Kinsey Copenhaver, Catherine Hong, Claire Anderson, Amina Ahmad, Olivia Crane, and Heidi Stauber. Lane Tech in kind of an interesting rotation here to try to receive this first serve from O'Laughlin at 2-3-1. As Anderson able to get the reception. Now Anderson from the right side with a fist across the face of the net, but a nice save and a nice response from Maeve Welsh as the senior starts off this set strong for Fenwick. So what we saw in the first set, for those of you just joining us, Lane Tech got the early lead, then Fenwick tied it up, and the teams kind of went back and forth. Lane Tech with the usual lead, as this one served a little too far off the hands of O'Laughlin, and Lane Tech will knot this one up at 1 apiece. And then at the end of the set, we saw Fenwick take control for the first time all afternoon, and they were able to roll to a 25-21 victory. This one played softly off the hands of Welsh, will go straight into net, and Lane Tech with their first lead here in set number 2. Catherine Hong for another point. A low serve there, a line drive. And in the front row, a block there from Ahmad and Copenhaver. Won't even matter, though. They call a net violation here on Erin East. And Lane Tech goes up 2 here, 3-1. Hong again. This one, a bit of a stronger serve. Cross-court kill attempt. Save, that was off the hands of East. Now Anderson with a kill attempt. And Fenwick somehow able to get it over. O'Laughlin with a falling hit there. Gets it over the net. Anderson goes with the soft touch, and another miracle save here for Fenwick. A couple of nice points here. Olivia Crane there to save it. Went off the ceiling here at Lane Gymnasium. And Catherine Hong gets it over. 3-1 the lead here for Lane Tech. And this one played a little too far by Welsh. Of the 5 points here early on, Welsh has either scored or had an error on 3 of them. Fenwick very reliant on her early in this second set. So played very high off the hands of O'Loughlin, and nice block there in the front row from Ahmad and Copenhaver. And now we're going to see the 5th straight serve from Catherine Hong, the #1 server on this Lane Tech team. None of these have been aces, but they put Fenwick in some difficult situations, and this time they'll be able to finalize the point. Welsh again just played that one softly, and Lane Tech unable to recover, so it'll be a 5-2 lead for Lane Tech. That 4-point lead they had a second ago was their longest of the night thus far. Ahmad from the far side, and now be a double. She played that one softly off the front of the net. Looked like it was blocked, however, the referees seem to not think so, and it'll be a second straight point here for Fenwick. And this one goes a little too far off the hands of Welsh. Excuse me, off the hands of Saunders. Once again, it's the same couple of players who have been a big part of this second set for Fenwick. Play this one high, and East will punch it over. Hong with the front set. Crane from the far side. Plays this one back to Hong. They'll try the same exact play. This time she just softly puts it over. Fenwick able to respond. Anderson from her knee, back set to Ahmad. Ahmad played it softly off the hands of East, and Fenwick keeps it alive, and they will give the point to Lane Tech. Would have been an excellent kill there from Aaron East. From our angle, it looked like it did land inbounds, but the lead referee there on the other side had a better view than we did, and they'll give Lane Tech a 4-point lead now. Claire Anderson has been probably the most consistent server for Lane Tech today. Gets her first serve of the second set over. Ahmad plays this one far to the back, and interesting there by O'Loughlin to the side to save it. An excellent save there by Ahmad. Some miscommunication there from Lane, and Stauber ultimately able to get it over. Front row block there from Copenhaver and Crane. Another one. This one played too far from the back off the hands of the libero here for Fenwick. And Lane Tech now up to a 5-point lead, their largest of the night. Much better start here in set number 2 than we saw in set number 1 for the champions. Anderson there to save a shot. Now Crane. Seems like Crane has been a little more cautious with her kills here in the second set. And an excellent shot there in the front row. Looked like off the hands of number 22, Annie Larson. And Fenwick will get their service back, trailing by 4 here. They're going to have Maeve Welsh there, their two-time all-conference player serving. So we'll see what Fenwick can do here off this service. Crane trying for the kill attempt, wasn't able to find the ground, but inconsistent block there off of 2 Fenwick players in the front row. And Lane goes back up 5 here, 9-4. They're going to have a very easy route to double digits here if Copenhaver can get a point here for Lane Tech. 9-4, the early lead for the champions. Front row block, and they're going to give the point to Lane Tech. Net violation for Fenwick, and they'll call timeout. 10-4, the early lead for Lane Tech, so a much better start here for the champions in set number 2. And this is kind of what you would have expected in a game like this. Fenwick has had some pretty lopsided losses this year. They took Jones to 3 sets, which was a good game for Fenwick. They were able to beat DePaul, but they've had some tough losses this year to teams like Lions, St. Viator in the start of the season, recently to York, Hinsdale Central. So it's been really up and down season for Fenwick. Lane Tech has been more consistent at times, and now they're finding that consistency here in set number 2 as they take a 10-4 lead. Fenwick using a lot of time here in this timeout, their second call of the day. We've seen Lane Tech call 1 timeout, Fenwick call 2 here, as Copenhaver will serve once again, her second serve in this second set. Reception by the libero for Fenwick. Far side blocks, somehow stays in bounds there. Amon and Anderson had some very weird spin off that block, but just stays in bounds. And Lane Tech goes up 7 here. I don't think we've seen either team have a lead this big. It was up to about 5 or 6 for Fenwick at the end of that first set. They ended up winning by 4. And a monster shot stays in bounds there by Aaron East, who will head back to serve, and that might be the momentum Fenwick needs to get back in this second set. A lot of close calls have not been going Fenwick's way on this second set, but East decides to go straight down the line and gets the point here for Fenwick. Reception by Gavelden, and going to give the point to Fenwick, so I guess we'll see. It was off the hands of Hong. It went off the ceiling, came down on the other side for Fenwick. So that's where they're going to draw the line on using the ceiling. And now an ace from East. We said that point might be the momentum booster Fenwick needed. They've scored 3 straight now, and they're within 4 of the champions here. 11-7 the lead. East again from the right-hand side. He's been serving just straight down the line here. Crane goes with the soft touch, and Welch there to patrol it. Fenwick's done a great job of patrolling both sides of the court here, but Crane finds the little gap there between the front and middle blockers there. And Lane Tech back within 5. We'll see Addison Stoner check into the game, and Olivia Sprinkle check into the game for the first time this afternoon. A strong junior outside hitter for Lane, but interesting to see when the coaching staff decides to use her in these contests. We've seen her a couple of times in the first set, now she comes in the second set, but Fenwick able to get the point quickly there to get back within 4. They'll send their libero back here. Scoreboard just had a little bit of an error there. Somehow it changed to 25-22. We have ours right at 12-8, and Brooke Anderson with a kill there in the front row, her second of the day. And Lane Tech back in front by 5. Gonna have to reset the scoreboard here quickly. We have 13-8 for Lane Tech. We'll see what they end up doing it as. They've had a couple of scoreboard errors here, both in the JV and varsity contest here. They're still trying to get it. They're adding points to Lane's score for some reason here. Now they're going to go down to 12. That was what it was at before that last point. It was 12-8, and looks like that last point that Lane Tech scored might be voided. They're also going to take away a point from Fenwick. So I guess the net gain for Lane Tech will be the same. They go up by 5, and instead of 13-8, it'll be 12-7. Sarah Thompson back to serve for Lane Tech. As we mentioned, she's been one of the better servers here. Nice block there off the hands of Brooke Anderson and Olivia Sprinkle. Front serve, Anderson again. This is what we've seen from her at home this year. She does her scoring in bouts. Last game Lane Tech had at home against Von Steuben. She had a nice run of points there from the middle. She gets 2 straight there. And now they're going to give Lane Tech that previous kill, and Lane Tech's going to go up 14-7. I think they're talking about the score here. It should be 14-8, a 6-point lead for Lane Tech. Right now they have it at 14-7 on the scoreboard. So that's what we're going to keep on our scoreboard, and now they're going to keep it at 14-7. So Fenwick loses a point here. Nice serve there by Thompson. But Fenwick able to respond. Anderson, the booming shot off the hands of East. That one almost flew into the stands here at Lane Tech and ended up crossing the middle line there. So bit of a run here for Lane Tech. They're up by 8 now, their biggest of the night. And Lane 10 points away from tying this one up. 1-1. We'll see if they can do it. A little bit of a delay here between points. Thompson goes with the softer touch on the serve. Back set. Cross-court kill. Stoner unable to get a good touch there, and there'll be a ball handling error as Fenwick gets their service back 15-8. They're going to send number 21 back to serve, who, as we mentioned, we were not able to find on our roster for Fenwick. She plays this one low. Thompson there for the reception. And Sprinkle goes with the long bump to keep this one alive. Block in the front row there by both the Andersons, Claire and Brooke. We'll see if they can do it again. Now Anderson with kill attempt number 3, and it goes for a kill. She's been very effective here in this set number 2. And Lane Tech has doubled up Fenwick's score here in set number 2, and we'll see the second timeout called here by Fenwick in just a matter of minutes here, as head coach Kathleen O'Loughlin wants to have a quick word with her team. A couple of other matches going on right now in the with Chicago Public League super teams. Jones taking on St. Ignatius. That game is at St. Ignatius. Was set for a 6 p.m. first serve, and then Vaughn playing at Amundsen at 6 p.m. So both this game and that Jones game are interconference play between the Public League Super and the GCAC here. It'll be, I thought it was Lane Tech's serve. I think they're finally going to give that point back to Fenwick all this time later. So it's going to remain Lane Tech volleyball. However, they give an extra point to Fenwick because there was an error there earlier. And it'll be 16-9, a 7-point lead for the champions. And I think that should be the end of this scoreboard saga, as we see O'Loughlin checking into the game for Marcelina Kozaka. Stauber plays it too far to the left-hand side. A rare service error there by the libero, and Fenwick hits the double-digit mark. Down 16-10 here, but they're going to have O'Loughlin back to serve. We've seen how dangerous she is with the ball in her hands here today. So we'll see if she can leave another little momentum booster for Fenwick from the far side. East decides to go down the line, but a nice block there in the front row from Sprinkle and Copenhaver. We'll see Sprinkle check out the game right after that alongside Stoner. Referee still talking things over with the with Coach O'Loughlin there for Fenwick. It was Ahmad and Hong who came back into the game. It'll be Hong's serve. We'll see if she can get Lane Tech to 20 points. Still chasing after that ace number 40 on the season. Right now she sits at 39. And they'll finally give the go-ahead for the serve. They're going to call out of rotation for Lane Tech. So after all of that, it ends up not even being a playable serve for Lane Tech, as Fenwick gets within 6 here, 17-11 in set number 2. Reaching the 7 o'clock mark here in Roscoe Village, here at Lane Gymnasium. Some non-conference action. East down the near side, and Lane really should be prepared for that because she has been doing that same shot all night long, varying speeds and whatnot, but she always has been going down this near line and gets the point there to bring Fenwick within 5 here, 17-12. This one straight into the net though, and Lane Tech will get their service back off the air from Felicia Saunders. Player Anderson back to serve. Kind of unfortunate there that we did not get to see Catherine Hahn go for even a full point there because of the out of rotation by Lane Tech. And East, after that error on the last shot, after that point on the last couple shots, finds another one here. Once again, Lane Tech trouble defending the senior outside hitter. East comes in at 5'11". She has some really good size and just very quick there on the outside for Fenwick. Copenhaver, though, finds the shot that Lane Tech opened the game with. That open back left corner for Fenwick, and Lane now back up 6. They're 1 point away from the 20-point mark here. They lead 19-13 over Fenwick. Trying to force a set number 3 where they'll look to try to have their first win in a 3-set match since week number 1 of the season. Crane pushes it over on the bump. And a soft response here from Fenwick. Ahmad goes cross court and just finds the line for the points. Ahmad tried about 3 of those in the first 10 points or so, was having no success with the shot. Backed off of it for the last set and a half, but finally returns to it and gets the point for Lane Tech, 20-13. Copenhaver plays this one soft. It took a diving O'Loughlin to keep the reception and played awkwardly off the hands here of Copenhaver to give the point back to Fenwick. Lane does have some room for error here, leading by 6, only needing 5 points to win this set. But they'd obviously like to get this set win earlier rather than later, and Anderson with kill number 4. I mentioned last night she had 9 kills. She was second on the team behind Crane, who had 10. Those two combined for 19 kills. They're just a force offensively here for Lane Tech. And Anderson almost reaches the halfway point of that mark here as Lane goes up 21-14. O'Loughlin plays it softly. Anderson able to palm it to keep it alive. Sprinkle played it back. Looked like that one was going to fall out of bounds, but the libero decides to play it for Fenwick. Front row, a couple of sets. And Anderson again, and this time it'll finally be stopped by Fenwick. Long point here back and forth between the two sides. Sprinkle goes cross court. This one somehow saved again, and will keep the point going. Anderson, and they will finally call the point off of a double on Lane Tech. So after a long and winding point number 36 of this set, it finally goes to Fenwick. And we will see Felicia Saunders, who's been excellent in the front row, check into the game here for Fenwick. You want her when you're trying to have a comeback here at the end of a set. Crane goes cross court. No success here for Lane Tech really with that shot here today. Stauber and Anderson with a miscommunication there, and it'll take Stoner to bump it over. Another shot. This one goes out of bounds. Looked like it was heading more to the middle, but took a weird, it wasn't a bounce there off of Lane Tech. Just took some weird spin, ends up falling out of bounds. And Lane goes back up 7, and we'll see Sarah Thompson head back for the serve. Trying to close out this set number 2 for Lane. Goes with a soft tip, and unready for it there was Saunders. I'm not sure if that was Thompson's intention. Looked like the ball kind of came strangely off her hands. Maybe would have gone outside, but Saunders was standing there, puts her hands on it, and no one there for the second touch. Lane Tech now 1 point away from a set point. We'll see if Anderson can get it. She can. Anderson with another kill here, and Lane Tech with set points after falling 25-21 in set number 1. They've had a much more dominant set number 2 as they try to force set number 3. Stauber there to save it, playing at the net. Stoner with a weird set there, but keeps it alive. O'Loughlin saved by Thompson. Anderson again. She got the last point. Can't she get this one? She won't on this attempt. O'Loughlin again and finds the ground. Gets point number 16 for Fenwick. They're going to have to shave off about 10 set points if they somehow want to win this one in two sets. Lane Tech just hoping for a service error here, or if they can finish on a strong point. Anderson plays it deep, but East is there to save it. Back set, punched over, and Welch there, who was strong to start off the second set, has been quiet here closer to the end. Finally gets back on the scoring for the Friars, and Fenwick will win 7. Once again, this one played softly to the right-hand side. Anderson, weird cross-court bump there. Now O'Loughlin hammers in another point. We'll see a timeout called by Lane Tech, their second of the night, first of this second set. And it was 24-15 when Lane Tech got their set point here in set number 2. We've seen 3 straight points scored by Fenwick, so still a way to go. They'd have to score 6 straight points to keep this one alive. However, they're on pace to if they keep up this excellent serving from the back row and their good responses primarily from O'Loughlin here on the left pin for the Friars. As both teams using, actually, no, Lane Tech broke their huddle about 30 seconds, even though they called the timeout. Fenwick ended up using the whole minute. And you got to weigh the risk and balances there if you're a coach calling that timeout in the lead. You want to calm down your team who just gave up 3 points, but you're also giving Fenwick a bit of a rest here as they try to mount this comeback. So definitely pros and cons of calling that timeout there. 24-18, the lead for Lane Tech here in set number 2. 4th match point for Lane Tech. Sprinkle plays it soft. Looked like a double there. They don't give it, and they're finally able to get it over with East. Anderson killed to the left-hand side, and Lane Tech with a dominating set number 2. They get this one 25-18, and after falling by 4 points in set number 1, Lane Tech is going to head to a 5th set here against the Fenwick Friars. So a good response here from Lane Tech. We saw them get to 3 last week against Whitney Young here at 2 weeks ago here at Lane Gymnasium against Whitney Young, but they got a little tired in the 3rd set. We'll see if Lane Tech can keep the energy going here in set number 3. We'll be back in just a second. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Lane Tech Girls Volleyball here on the Lane Tech Athletics YouTube channel. Well, the theme for this 2022 season for Lane Tech has been ups and downs in their season. You saw some struggles to start the year, came back strong, back and forth with wins and losses throughout the year. And then that's also been on display in matches, and that is what we have seen exactly here tonight against Fenwick. A somewhat weak start for Lane Tech. They came out of the gates okay, but then they just collapsed at the end of that first set. But a through and through very impressive performance there in set number 2 for Lane Tech as they take a 25-18 set 2 win. So they lose the first set 25-21. They win the second set 25-18, and now we will have the decisive set number 3 coming up here from Lane Gymnasium. As you mentioned, the last time these two teams met, it was a sweep for Fenwick. The last time Lane Tech won a set against Fenwick, which was all the way back in 2016 on September 2nd. They won the first set, and then they lost 2 straight. A little bit of a different storyline here tonight as they lost the first set at home, and now are trying to win the second and the third one. Talked about this early in the broadcast, but for those of you just joining us, Lane Tech has not had a lot of success in 3-set matches. Losses to Payton in 3, Whitney Young in 3, Jones in 3, DePaul in 3. However, they won their first 3-set match of the year against Niles North. Dropped the middle set of that one and won 25-22 in the decisive 3rd set. So this would be the first time Lane Tech could win a 3-set match after dropping the first set all year long. The most recent 3-set match for Fenwick was a 3-set loss to Jones. They also have 3-set losses to Naperville Central, a win against Rosary in 3, and a win against Resurrection, Homewood Flossmoor, and then loses to St. Viator and TCHS. So a mixed bag of 3-set matches for Fenwick this year. They'll start off the set with the serve. Anderson from the far side serves this one straight into the net. Not sure if any blocking was needed there for Fenwick, and they'll open this one up with a 1-0 lead. The trend so far is whoever wins the first point has lost a set in both set number 1 and set number 2. Lane Tech hoping that stays true in this other set, and they're going to call a net violation by Lane Tech. Point goes to Fenwick. So Friars will open up with a 2-0 lead here over Lane Tech in set number 2. Libero back to serve once again here for Fenwick. Our 3rd serve of this set. Crane from the middle. We don't see Crane play from the middle a lot. Does it there, and an excellent punch over there by Maeve Welsh. Seems like Maeve Welsh just always is playing her best at the start of sets. An excellent start to set number 2, and now she gets the nice start to set number 3 as well, as as Fenwick starts a 3-0 lead. Anderson runs into the bleachers trying to save that one, but Crane is able there to actually save it. On the response there was Welsh. Looks like they're going to set her up again. Instead, they give it to East on the near side. Now here comes Welsh, palms it. Ahmad able to save it. A little bit of a snake eyes hit there from Hong. East again, plays it to the middle. Lane Tech not defending that middle super well. And they're going to give the point to Lane Tech. Looks like an injury here for the libero for Fenwick. Fenwick thought the point had been stopped. The referees hadn't seen it, so they were not able to stop the point. We see Welsh there trying to argue with the lead referee to at least redo the point, and now it looks like both the referees are going to talk things over here. So currently it stands at a 3-0 lead for Fenwick. Lane was able to get that point pretty easily because there was no defense. Did not say what the actual injury was. Looks like something to the face of the libero here for Fenwick. And we will see who they end up giving the point to. Referee's going to walk over to the scorers table, and looks like they're going to give it to Lane Tech. They have not changed the scoreboard here. And now they will give the point to Lane. So a 3-1 lead they get on the scoreboard for the first time this set. Nice block there in the front from Ahmad and Copenhagen. A big back set. And Stauber unable to save it. Dove in there for the dig, but just came softly off her arms, and Fenwick will go up by 3. So Fenwick's having to take some time here to get their rotation back to normal. Got thrown out of the way with their injury there. It'll be Welsh back to serve. It's been pretty good from the back line here tonight. On her first service here of this set number 3. Referee still talking things over with head coach Kathleen O'Laughlin. I've not seen any coach talk to the referees as much as Fenwick's have tonight here from Lane Gymnasium. It's been kind of hard to read the body language, so I can't tell if they're just talking things over or arguing over calls, but either way, a lot of conversation between those two sides here tonight. Copenhagen gets blocked there in the front row, but Hong there to save it. A booming shot, and Hong gets it over again. And this one played too hard off the hands of East, so a couple of very nice shots from Fenwick, but Catherine Hong in the right place at the right time for both of those shots. And Lane Tech will cut the lead in half. 4-2, Lane Tech with the lead. Anderson serving. It's a miscommunication here. That will be touch number 4. So Lane Tech gets 2 straight points for the first time this set. Once again, Anderson has just had such a strong day serving here for Lane Tech. She had an ace last night against Payton. It's been really important serving here for Lane Tech, as once again Stauber just unable to fully dig this one out. She's been all over the floor trying to save some of these shots for Lane Tech, but just has not had that much success here in set number 3. Crame sends this one straight to the ground. Aaron East was just bending down to try to set up for a possible dig when that one touched the ground, and Lane Tech pulls within 1, 5-4. That's the kills from Crane we have been seeing all year long, and now this one played to the back row, unable to be handled there by number 18, Hazel Davis. And that might be the first time we've seen her all day long. I'm wondering if she's in because of the injury. Going to target her again. This one played awkwardly off the hands of O'Loughlin, and then the second attempt from East to keep it alive also is bad, so Lane Tech will take the lead for the first time here in set number 2. So this injury really messing with the momentum that Fenwick had. Gonna serve deep again. Davis was standing all the way behind, not even in playable area. As once again, weirdly played off the hands of both Davis and then of number 4, Aaron East there. Davis stands at 5'4". Doesn't have the size of her other teammates, and Lane has been just sending all their shots to her. Also just seems some weird receptions from even some of the top players here from Fenwick. Far side, Crane tries for the kill again. This one off the hands of a couple of blockers. And Lane Tech on a roll here. They go up 8-5, and we'll see a timeout called by Fenwick, their first of this set number 3. So it'll be a 1-minute timeout called by head coach Kathleen O'Loughlin. And I've done all the home games for Lane Tech here, and this is the first time we've seen an injury to a player where they've had to leave the game mid-match, and to really seem to have thrown off this Fenwick team, who were in a pretty good position to possibly get their 8th win of the season here. They won the first set, looked a little rough there in the second set, but there in the first few points of set number 3, they were establishing a lead. It's really been all day long just a game of momentum. In the first set we saw Fenwick, they just looked like they were more confident. In the second set, Lane Tech looked like they're more confident. And here at the end of set number 3, it seems like Lane Tech is the team who just looks more confident here. Maybe a roster there with Davis. We're not sure. A couple of these numbers seem to have changed for Fenwick. We'll try to figure that one out. But either way, it'll be an 8-5 lead for Lane Tech. Copenhagen once again plays it towards the middle. And this one, finally Fenwick able to break it up. It looks like we do have a change. That was not Davis. That was number 28, Emma Meehan, the senior defensive specialist. She comes out of the game here quickly, though, as Marcelina Kozaka comes in. 2-point lead for Lane Tech. Anderson from the front row. That one unable to be finished by Kozaka there in the front row. Had the chance to kind of just bounce that one straight back into Lane Tech territory. She can't, though, as we'll see Stoner and Sprinkle come into the game. So Sprinkle becoming a regular part of the rotation here in sets 2 and 3 for Lane Tech. She's the only player who wasn't part of the rotation in set 1 that is now playing for Lane Tech. And an excellent dig there by Stauber off the kill attempt from O'Loughlin. She'll do it again to the front row, and right there to block it is the double of Brooke Anderson and Olivia Sprinkle. I haven't been counting, but I'm sure Anderson has gotten, she definitely has gotten that 40th block of the year here tonight. She's over that mark by now. As a nice response there from one of these Fenwick players, the nameless number 21, who gets Fenwick within 3. So Lane Tech seems to have the momentum, but as long as Fenwick can keep this within striking distance, they'll have a chance in this match. Sprinkle tried for the kill attempt. Goes straight back to Lane. Sprinkle now from the other side. Gets blocked in the front row, and Anderson keeps alive. Stoner goes behind her back. And both the teams just making some athletic plays to keep this point alive. They set up Crane a little close to the net, and right there in the front, Kozaka and Welsh. Right place, right time there. An excellently timed jump. And now we'll see a timeout called by Lane Tech. So both the teams using their timeouts here in set number 3. 10-8 the lead for Lane Tech over Fenwick, but Lane does not have that same confidence that we saw a couple of minutes ago. And it's like Claire Anderson is going to come out of the game momentarily for Lane Tech. Had some injury concerns earlier in the year. She's been such an important part of this Lane Tech roster. About 20 seconds left in this timeout. I haven't been counting, but I think Lane Tech might have 2 timeouts left. Fenwick has used a lot. They might only have 1 timeout left in this matchup. Out of the timeout, it'll be number 21 serving for Fenwick. She was the person serving at the end of that second set when it was almost a very late comeback by Fenwick. They had 3 or 4 points while Lane Tech had set points, but ultimately Lane Tech was able to clinch the victory. It's like Anderson's going to come back into the game now. She's going to check out for Maddie Gavaldon, who heads into the game for the first time in a little while. So it'll be Gavaldon, Stauber, Stoner, Crane, Sprinkle, and Brooke Anderson on the court here. Serve goes up the middle. Crane, the reception. Crane, 3rd on the team in receptions, despite being an outside hitter. This one weird off the tips. And now they're going to call a violation on Lane Tech. Not sure what that symbol is from the referee. They just held their arms out there. But either way, there'll be another point here for Fenwick, who have now cut this to a 1-point lead for Lane Tech, 10-9 in set number 3. This one played very low, just gets over the net and takes a diving Crane to keep it going. And a double block in the front row off the hands of Kozaka and Welsh. Kozaka in these last couple of minutes has been very important in that front line. She was kind of quiet through the first 2 sets, but coming alive here when it matters most for Fenwick. Stoner with the back set to Crane. Blocked in the front row, and another block here for Fenwick. Kozaka once again. And the Friars take the lead here in set number 3. 11-10 the lead for Lane Tech, for Fenwick. A back and forth 3rd set here from Lane Gymnasium. Stoner goes with the back set again. Crane tried to play it. They're going to blow the whistle and give the point to Lane. So after Fenwick benefited from the whistle a couple of minutes ago, now we see the benefit for, when Fenwick benefited from a couple of minutes ago, now we'll see the benefits for Lane Tech. As Thompson serves it to the back right. Nice save there by O'Loughlin. She calls off her teammates, even though there was a couple closer. Gets the point. Anderson trying for another kill. Ref ended up just catching that one. It went very high towards his chair. And Lane Tech back within the lead, 12-11. Thompson from the middle. Like a little bit of miscommunication there on the reception for Fenwick. Another back serve, third straight from Stoner. Sprinkle gets the kill. Trying to keep that one alive was number 22, Annie Larson. She didn't get a terrible hold of the ball, but it was just so strong out the hands of Sprinkle. It went all the way to the ceiling, and now a 13-11 lead for Lane Tech. And this one's going to stay a little too far. We'll go to points for Fenwick. O'Laughlin, one of the best servers on this team. Serve this one straight up the middle to Stauber. Anderson from the front row. Brooke Anderson gets another kill here. She'll check out the game for Kinsey Copenhaver. And an excellent point there for Lane Tech, who are back within 2. They've been most comfortable playing here tonight with a multi-point lead, as most teams are. As Stauber plays this one to the middle. Another kill attempt, another point from Welsh. Maeve Welsh, the 5'9" senior setter, has been playing almost like an outside hitter here. As we'll see Emma Meehan check into the game, the senior defensive specialist to serve. She's playing in the libero role right now for the Friars and gets her first serve of the night over. Copenhaver with the soft touch there, diving O'Laughlin, gets it over. Welsh again, and Stauber was there to try for the dig, but she gets it right up to the referee, who makes his second catch in about 5 points, and will knock this one up at 14. So Meehan successful on her first serve. This one goes far and will go out for the point for Lane Tech. So we saw when Lane served last time Meehan was in, they went straight to her, and they're going to send her way back once again. Lane's top server, Catherine Hong, plays it soft. Sprinkle to Hong, sets it outside. Copenhaver serves it straight into the net, and Fenwick goes to tie it up once again. So 10 points to take the win here at Lane Gymnasium, 15-15 in set number 3 between these two squads. Amina Ahmad can't find the ground, and looked like both Copenhaver and Wild reached over the net there. Not allowed, and goes the point to Fenwick, 16-15. So a little bit of an error on awareness there from Lane Tech. Hong with the front set, Ahmad palms over, but Meehan there to keep it alive. East goes down the line like we've seen all night from her, and they'll just have Thompson softly bump it over. 16-15 lead for Fenwick. Wild goes cross court, and a one-hand save there from O'Laughlin. Meehan had the much better position on the shot there. O'Laughlin came out of kind of nowhere to try to save it for Fenwick. And it ends up just being too powerful of a shot. Even with just one fist on it, it goes all the way to the net. And a 16-16 game now, as Maddie Gavaldin's first serve of the night goes too short and too far to the right. Fenwick back in the lead, 17-16. Looks like it's going to be a back and forth affair to close this one out. And Crane goes way too far on the kill attempt. You don't see a lot of airs out of her, but you see one there as Lane falls behind by 2 here now in set number 3. East, one of the top servers on this Fenwick squad. Nice block in the front row for Fenwick. Crane's going to have to punch this one out from a while. I think she did not realize that was the third touch of the point for Lane Tech, because she played that one very softly. And either way, it'll go for a Fenwick point. So 19-16 now. And Ahmad goes straight into the net, and Lane Tech's going to be forced to call a timeout here. All the momentum going here to Fenwick, and this is just the same thing we saw in set number 1. Lane Sack looked like they had control of it through the entire first set, but near the end, near the 20-point mark or so, this Fenwick team came alive, and that is exactly what they are doing here in set number 3. A 4-point lead now for the Friars. And Lane Sack's forced to call another timeout. I believe they only have one left now as well in the match. Wouldn't be surprised to see either team use it. Fenwick's going to need 5 points to win this one. Lane Sack is going to need 9 points to win this one. And these next couple of points are very important for late because we have seen them have some troubles coming back late in matches this year. So if they can keep Fenwick in the 20, 21, even 22 range, that's going to be important. Not letting the Friars get to that 23, 24-point range on the other hand. As Hahn goes with the front set to Crane. Saw an opening there, but diving out of nowhere is Welsh to keep it alive. Hahn back set. Copenhaver unable to find the ground there. And we'll see another dig here by Stauber. Cross-court kill attempt. Both these teams playing very excellently defensively on this point. Ahmad just goes with the lofting shot there. And this one played into the net. No one there to set it on the second hit. And Fenwick now 4 points away from a win. And this has been the standard Lane Sack has tried to avoid all year long. Their opponent needing less points to win the set than they need to catch up, as this one flails out of bounds, and Fenwick now with all the momentum. Fenwick 3 points away from victory here at Lane Gymnasium in what would be a big 8th win of the season. Crane once again goes into the net. They're going to call a net violation, it looks like here, and point will go to the Friars, who are up by 7 and just need 2 points to take this win at Lane Gymnasium and continuing their dominance over this Lane Sack team in recent history. Crane pushes this one over, and I think they're going to call a double there maybe. Or no, they're going to call a lift on Crane, and Fenwick with 9 match points to work with. And they're going to have one of their most impressive servers of the day, Aaron East, back to serve. East from the left-hand side, plays it soft. Stauber keeps it alive. Now Ahmad. That one goes awkwardly off the hands, and Fenwick wins a 3-set thriller from Lane Gymnasium. Came into this afternoon with a 7-13 record. They'll leave with an 8th win and get 1 win closer to 500. Lane Sack drops to just 1 game over 500, 14-13. And they'll look to get back on track tomorrow night against Northside on senior night. But a rough couple of days here for Lane. 2 teams they came into the week thinking they could beat, but they fall to Payton in 3 sets last night, and now Fenwick in 3 sets tonight. Some bright spots for that Lane Tech team in the second set and start of the third, but the strong play of Aaron East, Maeve Welsh, Felicia Saunders, and Shannon O'Laughlin, the 4 seniors on this Fenwick team, just too much for Lane Tech to overcome. Fenwick will be back in action on October 4th, which I want to say is next Monday at 6 p.m. against De La Salle. Lane Tech, as we mentioned, back in action less than 24 hours from now, a 6 p.m. first serve from Lane Gymnasium against Northside for senior night. So we'll be on the call for that one as Lane Tech looks to finally get back in the win column for the first time since Saturday. But that's just about going to do all of our coverage here tonight from Lane Gymnasium. A rough loss for Lane Tech. They fall in this one, 2-1 to the Fenwick Friars. Your final score from Lane Gymnasium, Fenwick 2, Lane Tech 1. My name's Alex Burstein. Good night.